D. Watkins with Salon TV, and today I'm here with April Ryan, White House correspondent and Washington Bureau Chief American of Urban Radio Networks, and we'll be talking about her new book, Under Fire: Reporting from the Front Lines of the Trump White House. How you doing today?
I'm fine, D. It's so great to be with you.
It's a great book, and it's extremely timely. How did it come about?
How did it come about? Well, it came about with much thought, much prayer, much trepidation. I had to tell the story about how I'm under fire at the White House. They would have you believe, they meaning White House staff, the president himself, as well as the press secretaries, that I'm a racist, I'm not patriotic, that I'm rude, when indeed I've done the same thing for the last 21 years with the three prior presidents, as I've done with this president. This is to tell the story from my unique perch, not just getting their side. You need my side. And I'm a storyteller. I ask questions, I research, and you need to know the whole story. And if I didn't tell the story, they would not tell the story, for sure. So what I do is set the record straight. I set the record straight for myself, for my children, and for their children, for history.
Yeah, you told the story really well. Not to
It reads
give,
like a novel, people are saying.
not to, it does, and not to give too much away, but we do want to leave our viewers with some key things you feel like they need to know. Walking through the White House as April Ryan and seeing or understanding your experience and some of the things that you have to go through. What should people, from the outside looking? Because we just see you, in the room like on the book cover. We just see you.
Raising my hand, right?
Which is a brilliant cover. I think it's a really amazing cover. I like it a lot. But what should people know?
D, be careful what you ask for, because everyone can't hold or handle your truth. It's not what it all seems like. You see me in the briefing room among the other reporters raising my hand, now not getting called on. But behind the scenes, there is a tug of war. There's a fight for access. There's a fight for truth. And on my side and on the reporter side, but then on their side, there's this fight that they don't want to keep us in the room. They don't want us knowing information. They don't want to be transparent. And the question is why? We are questioners. We are storytellers, truth tellers. I'm not even going to say story, because we are truth tellers. And with that being said, it's a tough battle. There used to be a friendly adversarial relationship with the White House. Now it's adversarial. Those who the White House courts or have a friendly adversarial relationship with tends to be the conservative press, or people that they feel that they can manipulate. When it comes to the standard, tried and true press, oh, we're the enemy, we are unpatriotic, we're anything they want to call us. That's not true.
So this isn't the first conservative president that you had to report on. What's the difference? What's the
George
difference?
W. Bush.
Between Bush and Trump, which seems like the most dysfunctional White House in the history of White End houses.
Yeah, I've covered two Democratic administrations and now two Republican administrations. When you look back at it, each administration was embattled. When Bill Clinton was president, oh my God, we had Monica Lewinsky, we had the race initiative, we had so much going on, but he still courted the press. George W. Bush had Katrina, he had the war in Iraq, he had 9/11, he had WMD, he had Scooter Libby outing Valerie Plame. There was so much more, but he still understood that he needed to talk to the press. Barack Obama, even in his historic presidency, and he did not necessarily care for the press because he felt like, he wanted to be free, but he knew that it was part of the Constitution. He still, dealt with the press and met with members of the press. This president, yeah, he might speak to the press on his way to something, but he's only had one solo press conference because he knows that he can't do that because he can't sustain. He's still learning on the job. He doesn't like us. And it reminds me of, and there are three moments in history.
He's very vocal about that.
He's very vocal.
He's like fake
At
news, very
rallies and
sad.
everything, and it's
Like,
wrong. And I'm going to call it out. It's wrong. He's very vocal about it. But I think about Nixon and how Nixon went against the press. And when he was going against the press, what happened? It was this Watergate issue, the tapes and all that surrounded that, lies, tapes, we're back to lies and tapes and was it sex lies and videotape and audio tape now too. But think about this, it's cyclical. Nixon, was to be impeached, but he resigned. But in the midst of that, he hated the press. He denigrated the press. And then we went to Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton, in the worst of times, he was impeached, but he still courted the press. He wasn't removed, but he was impeached. Now we have a president who is in the midst of a serious investigation, a Russian investigation. It's dogged him since day one. He is now going against the press. Why? He doesn't like us. Why? We are truth tellers, and we didn't make this up. His own Justice Department is doing this, but yet we are the fault. This is not about a witch hunt. This is about the rule of law, and let's see how far this goes, and if the rule of law, if rules were broken, if laws were broken. So we have to wait for Mueller. But in the midst of that, the president is heaping hate on us and using us as targets. And the way he continues to do it, it's almost as if he wants to see something happen.
it's like our country has never successfully moved a president. Do you think Trump will be the first?
We have never successfully removed a president. He could be. If this blue tsunami, and this president is keenly aware that he could indeed lose the House. And this blue tsunami is coming. It took 8 years after Barack Obama for there to be a counter to Barack Obama, which is Donald Trump. It has taken less than 2 years for the counter to Donald Trump, with all of these minorities and women who are running for office and poised to be the leaders in their respective races. So if this blue tsunami happens, like they're predicting and the president thinks will happen, there will be a move in the House because Republicans are not checking or balancing this president. There will be a move, and there could be a move in the House to get him out.
And that happens, what's going to happen to our country? Because he still has a lot of supporters. Like,
He's got a lot of supporters.
If you bump into
straw views of what people feel, he's got a lot of supporters. But independents are now moving more so towards Democrats than they are Republicans. I don't know what's going to happen. This is uncharted territory we have to walk through. But I guarantee that Democrats are going to make a noise if they do take over the House. And it all really lays in the lap of Mueller. What does Mueller have to say? We've heard that he could be an unindicted co-conspirator. But what if Mueller does try to indict him? We don't know. We're just watching this unfold and trying to figure out how this happens.
Being as though Donald Trump has said racist things, I think he's a racist. A lot of people think he's a racist. How detrimental do you think he is to the African American community as president?
What do we have to lose? We have a lot to lose. The president said that while campaigning, and I was shocked. I was like, what? We're still a community, D, and you know this. We're both in the Baltimore area. And Baltimore was spotlighted more so with the blight during Freddie Gray. But Baltimore, like a lot of communities, it's a hodgepodge of neighborhoods and all different income types. But in the Black community, and I'm a proud, unapologetic member of the Black community, we have the highest numbers of negatives in almost every category. And there's a lot to lose. We are still at the low rung on unemployment. Even though the president says, the Black unemployment rate is the best it's ever been, we're still at the lowest rung. And you're doing this without doing anything. It's happening without doing anything. Imagine if you did something.
Right.
It could be on par with everyone else. So I really don't think that's something to jump for joy about. It's happening as you're not doing anything. And people have said in their indications that the economy is getting ready to turn, particularly with the president dealing with trade, tariffs, and shutting down borders. Trying to shut down the borders when immigrants who make these take these low wage jobs. if he shuts down the borders, the price of everything is going to go up. And then also, you got the president talking about building this wall, and at the detriment of a government shutdown, left his own devices. If he did that, there are a lot of government paychecks and subcontractor paychecks that would be affected. So left to his own devices, this economy is going to swirl. People are preparing for something to change. When it comes to health, we are a community that still has disproportionate numbers when it comes to issues of diabetes, asthma, cancer, heart disease, all sorts of things. When it comes to housing, we are being preyed upon by these lenders after seeing a heyday in the Bill Clinton years of the Black community having the numbers of buying. Our numbers went up in home ownership. Home ownership, you leverage education, you leverage getting a business and getting an education, using that home as equity to get those things.
And then you look at
education.
You look at his liaisons. His liaisons are Ben Carson, who knows nothing about HUD.
Stop, behave.
Kanye West.
And Ben Carson toiled in Baltimore, but he did have the Carson scholars and things of that nature. Go ahead.
Kanye West, who said slavery was a choice.
Well, wait a minute. Let's talk about Kanye West. Let's talk about Kanye West.
Kanye West, who said slavery was a choice.
Kim Kardashian.
And then Omarosa. And then Omarosa.
No, I want to go to Kanye West first.
Okay, we go to Kanye. We go to Kanye West first.
Want to do what? I'm a what? Huh? So look. So D, here's the thing. Let's do Kanye West real quick. Kanye West, I remember covering George W. Bush when Katrina happened. Remember when he was on the telethon?
Uh-huh.
Was it Mike Myers?
It was Mike Myers. I think Mike Myers was deported after that. I think he lost his citizenship after that.
Did he?
Yeah, there was no more Austin Powers movies after that moment. You noticed that?
That's true. Well, let's dig into that. When you said that, I need to find that out. But Kanye West said George Bush doesn't like Black people.
Uh-huh.
Where is he now? He's all up under Trump. I don't understand. And I heard he was pulled to the side and talked to. It's just an interesting dynamic. Now let's go to I'm a who what? Huh?
Yeah, well you touched on it in the book. And I want to know, do you think that there's ever a possibility of you mending your relationship with Omarosa?
I'm a what? What did you say? I'm going to do what?
So what happened? What happened to her? What happened to her inside that White House?
In the book. I'm so tired of talking about her.
Okay.
And her tapes. I pray that she gets an Emmy award, not an Emmy, an American Music Award or a Grammy for all the tapes. Honey, she can release some tapes. You remember back in the day, they'd have people taking their tapes out of the back of the car, letting you hear the tapes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if she's going to get an American Music Award or a Grammy. God bless her. I forgive her.
It's more theatrical by the second. And we're not gonna. Yeah, we're not gonna.
God bless her. And God bless her. I wish her well. I will say this. I forgive her, but I don't forget. What she did was terrible. And she was actively complicit. She says, oh, I was complicit. That means, yeah, I did it begrudgingly. No, you did it actively and went even further than what you said. She blocked Black people from trying to get positions in that White House. She taped people, to include me. She lied on me saying I was taking money from Hillary Clinton, which is not true at all. That's a career ender. She wanted to prove to them that she was in their camp. So therefore, she thought that she could cut the closest person's head off next to her and hand it to them. It didn't happen. And like I said, when we got into that argument, I was here when you got fired the first time. I'll be here when you get fired this time.
And it's true.
It's true. And it's just, God bless her. I have nothing for her, really. And which you have to be careful with what you do to people. And she runs around here acting like she's a hero or a martyr. She is not. I've heard people say, oh, do you think that she should get her profiles encouraged? It's encouraged for what? The only reason why she put those tapes out is because she got fired. She would have stayed there and been complicit and done whatever else until she lost her job, whenever, or until she was tired of it. So let's call it what it
And this
is.
is why nobody is really listening to what she's saying for that reason. If they would have kept her close to the camp, then
She
everything would have
would
been
have done this
fine.
if she wouldn't have got it. Let's call it what it is. She got her little money for her book, and she had a ghostwriter write it, and that's fine. But what happens after that? She's supposed to be the resistance. Resist what? You were the problem, and still are the problem. She's a liar.
So one thing
Period.
one thing I want to touch on is, and this has made me extremely upset. It made me so mad that, like, I remember being in the airport and I stopped what I was doing and I wrote an article about it, and
All right.
that was your exchange with Sean Spicer. Can
Oh,
you yeah
sweetie, thank
can
you.
you take us
That's
to that day?
what about Sean?
Take us to the day with Sean Spicer in the are you shaking your head that day?
Well, let me say this again. He outlived his usefulness the first day when he was screaming in that ill-fitting suit about the crowd size. I can't even get it out. The crowd size. Sean is an interesting character. We were friends prior to, but you know really what that was about? The fact that his boss, his father boss, as I like to call it for him, the man that he always wanted his approval from and never got approval from, um, his father boss doesn't like me. And because his father boss doesn't like me, he wound up doing that. And that his father boss actually showed, which I'm talking about the president actually looked bad after he did that Archie Bunker, Al Bundy scenario, telling me, are they my friends? Get them together. Can I set up a meeting for him in the CBC? So with them smarting, Sean decided to go after me. And he said I was shaking my head. I actually didn't shake my head at the beginning. I dropped my head because I was in shock with how trite and how foolish he was sounding. And later on, I was shaking my head. I'm like, okay, whatever.
So, April, you're a very respected journalist. People, they love you. They love your work. We
It
love
all
your
depends now. It all
yeah.
depends who it is.
The
Some people
people,
don't.
the people that matter, people who seek the truth, respect you and your opinion. And we're living in this era of fake news. And I would like you to speak to that on why this book is important, why people need to know this story, and why as journalists we need to kill this whole fake news movement.
I, you're not supposed to say you hate, but I hate the word fake because it comes from this space of someone who doesn't want the world to know the truth. And that's why that he labels us as fake. I'm talking about the president of the United States. This book, this book details how they went after me because I was telling the truth on issues that truth needed to come out on. So they labeled me. They called me a racist. They put me on a blacklist. I'm black, and there's a list. So what? Black people have been on blacklists a long time, and it doesn't deter me. I'm still going to do my job. And it's interesting. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the White House press secretary, said to me, "Well, it's not your stories; it's what you say on CNN." That's the same thing. I see it for what it is. I know I've been here long enough to understand the process and processes and talk to enough sources who are in their camp or who are close to the camp and talk to them who tell me what's going on. So they don't like it, but guess what? I'm not going to stop. I'm free. I stand on, yeah, I'm standing on what the founding fathers put in the Constitution, the First Amendment. They never knew that there was going to be a black woman who was a descendant of slaves who would be in that briefing room. They never knew that there was going to be a Donald Trump or a Barack Obama, but they had the foresight to understand that there could be a day when Republicans or Congress would not stand up and do checks and balances. And then there was someone, the accountability piece of the press. They understood this. So this book is an outgrowth of people trying to take my freedom and trying to discredit me and trying to hurt my career when everything I've said is the truth.
And the truth is what's going to keep you around. We're so glad that you're here. Thank you for coming in, and tell everyone where they can get the book at.
Oh, you can definitely get the book at Barnes and Nobles. You can go online to Mahogany Books. You can also go on Amazon.com. And guess what, Dee? I meant to tell you this. I'm just so excited today. This book has now gone into another printing. People are loving it. It's it's amazing. I'm thankful. People need to know the truth. It talks about dysfunction. Chapter 2D, our home guy, Congressman Elijah Cummings, talks about dysfunction when he was trying to deal with the issue of healthcare reform. He talks about the dysfunction of this administration. It details a lot. It reads like a novel, but it's real life. Get it at Amazon.com, Barnes and Nobles, in any independent store. But if you can't find it in your store, tell them, I want it. Get it. Get it for Christmas gifts. Buy it. You need it.
It's amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dee. Thank you so much.